A very good morning and Assalamualaikum to my fellow panelists. I am Nur Farhadiana, your moderator for today's topic. It is a great day to be discussing about sustainable tourism. Our topic for today is captivating adventures in sustainable travel. Let's have a look on its current issue. In Malaysia, closed borders and travel restriction resulted in tourist number declining by almost 99%, from 26.1 million in 2019 to around 0.1 million in 2021. The COVID-19 epidemic caused a sharp fall in international travel expenditures for both business and pleasure travel, which put an end to the tourist industry growth until 2020. Forecasts showed that, in spite of the setback, the market for sustainable tourism, also known as green tourism or ecotourism, was growing. By taking into account the demand of tourists, the travel industry, the environment, and the host communities, sustainable tourism aims to solve economic, social, and environmental repercussions. The increase in greenhouse gas emission worldwide, overpopulation, and the decline in social-cultural authenticity in host communities are some of the issues that are igniting conversation about sustainable practices. According to a survey conducted in 2022, more than 80% of travelers worldwide value sustainable tourism. Though there is a stated desire to embrace sustainability, the tourism system is confronted with difficulties as a result of quick expansion and what is known as greenwashing of veneer environmentalists, which emphasizes the unwillingness to embrace more significant changes in traveler behavior and tourism industry operational procedures. As we dive deeper into this topic, let's introduce our wonderful panelists to the viewer. For our first panelist, let's welcome Hanis Nuha binti Ahmad Nazire. She is the Vice President of Aravis Travel and Tours. How are you, Miss Hanis?
I'm fine, thank you. Alhamdulillah. How about you?
Yes, I'm great. Alright, next, we have the second panelist. We have Hana Najah binti Zulkifli as a Senior Economist in Reliance Premier Travel Malaysia. How was your day, Miss Hana?
Hi there, sure, fine. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And lastly, we have Shuhada binti Matkia, who work as a holiday representative in Seasonal Global. How is it going for you, Miss Shuhada?
I'm very good, thank you.
Alright, thank you all for coming to this forum. Starting with the first round of question, beginning with the aspect social. Can you explain a bit more about sustainable tourism, Miss Hanis?
Yeah, sure. For the social culture, I'll be talking about preserve culture and heritage. So culture heritage preservation is a duty rather than just an opinion. Our identities, histories, and values are all attached to by our culture legacy. It ties us to our history and provides the foundation for new development in the future. When we talk about culture heritage, we are referring to the tangible and intangible aspect of our shared history. It encompasses the physical structures, artifacts, and artworks that have been passed down through generation, as well as the customs, traditions, and knowledge that define our communities. Cultures and heritage is a living entity, constantly evolving and shaping our present and future. A nation's history and legacy strengthen its identity as a people capable of being introduced to the world and gaining great worth. Protecting culture's assets, including important historical and cultural sites, structures, landmarks, and monuments. It's considered how one upbringing shaped their values, beliefs, and aspirations, while preserving the humanity, the knowledge of it being passed down from one generation to another.
All right, great point, Miss Hanis. Can you tell me the benefits of preserving culture and heritage to sustainable travel?
Sure. Uh, so there's a good benefits, but I'll be giving two today. The first one is the good benefit for preserved cultures and cultures is its cultural diversities improve global understanding, which means that by highlighting the diverse range of human experiences, cultures preserve promote an atmosphere of inclusion and acceptance. These are the positive consequences of protected culture and history on sustainable travel. Exposure to a range of culture, language, and tradition foster mutual understanding, eliminating barriers and foster a more peaceful global community. Travelers who are educated on the value of culture preservation are more inclined to act responsible and with respect. Supporting and taking part in culture events that reflect the values of the community is part of this. UNESCO stated that heritage is a valuable factor for empowering local communities and enabling vulnerable groups to participate fully in social and cultural life. Second, it developed a sense of identity and belonging. Having a cultural background helps people feel like they belong. By keeping traditions, dialects, communities can develop stronger ties to the heritage and contribute to a tight and supportive community. In turn, this connection fosters mental health and a more strong feeling of a community. Cultural customs, ceremonies, and practices frequently promote unity among people and offer opportunities for expression. Participating in cultural activities and feeling like you belong might help reduce stress and increase happiness in general. Express social cultural identity of the local community will also mean a greater attachment and the value of certain cultures and natural resources and intangible assets. Have the ability to become a major tourist attraction. By Isidora, who's an expert in sustainable tourism lecturing of Vern University, Edward Bernays University, and at University of Zagreb. That's all.
Such a wonderful explanation from Hanis Nuha. Preserving culture and heritage enhances the global understanding, promotes sustainable travel by introducing this diverse celebration, languages, and tradition that could also break down the barrier between communities. Moving on to the next panelist, Ms. Hannah, what is your point of view of economic aspect for sustainable tourism?
Sure. When we talk about money and travel, means making sure that tourism helps a place grow economically without causing harm to the environment, culture, or the people who live there. So that is a sustainable travel. The goal is to keep tourism going for a long time and find a good balance between making money and taking care of nature and culture. The heart of sustainable travel is about doing good for local economies and also taking care of the natural and cultural beauty of a place. It's mean looking at tourism in a complete and responsible way, thinking about the people who live in that place and keeping what makes it special. So according to a report by the United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2018, sustainable travel practices that consider economic growth alongside environmental and cultural conservation contribute to the resilience and long-term well-being of destinations. This practice includes minimizing environmental impacts, involving local communities, and protecting the unique features that make a place special.
Splendid idea by our senior economist. And what do you think about the economic impact of sustainable travel?
Well, if you ask me, I think sustainable travel acts as a catalyst for economic growth, fostering a delicate balance between environmental preservation and socio-economic development. When we speak about the economic impact of sustainable tourism, we are not only referring to direct revenue, but also to the broader positive effects on local economies. According to a report by the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, in 2022, sustainable travel is estimated to create 15 million jobs globally by 2030. Simultaneously, a study conducted by the Sustainable Initiative in Costa Rica, STI, in 2021 found that for every job that created directly in tourism sector, there are another 2 jobs are generated in related industries such as food production and transportation. UNWTO also state that sustainable tourism often acts as a catalyst for infrastructure development in destination, with a direct positive correlation between increased tourism and improve infrastructure. For instance, examples from Bhutan, a country located in Southern Asia between Tibet and India, show that a revenue generated from sustainable travel has been instrumental in funding local infrastructure projects such as road improvements and waste management system. This is based on a report by Bhutan Ministry of Tourism in 2019.
Wonderful idea by Miss Hannah. So, sustainable tourism significantly boosts local economies by fostering job in related industries and supports infrastructure development with revenue from tourism funding. Alright, as for the third panelist, Ms. Shuhada, what do you think about sustainable tourism in the aspect environment?
Thank you, moderator. So, sustainable tourism from an environmental perspective, it emphasizes responsible travel practices that minimize negative impacts on the environment while promoting conservation and the well-being of local ecosystems. Here are key points of view regarding sustainable tourism in the context of the environment. The first one is conservation of natural resources, such as water, energy, and biodiversity. Efforts are made to use resources efficiently and minimize waste to reduce the environmental footprint of tourism activities. The second one is preservation of ecosystem. Sustainable tourism aims to protect and preserve ecosystems, including forests, coral reefs, wetlands, and other natural habitats. Development and tourism activities should avoid causing harm to these sensitive environments. The last one is responsible wildlife tourism. Sustainable tourism encourage responsible wildlife viewing practices, emphasizing the importance of not disturbing or exploiting wildlife. It promotes ethical interaction and supports conservation efforts to protect en- endangered species.
Great idea. Do you think travel contributes any negative impact for the environment?
Yes, impacts of tourism on environment contribute negative impacts. It is fast and sometimes uncontrolled growth can be the major cause of degradation of the environment. Tourism development can put pressure on natural resources when it increases consumption in areas where resources are already scarce. For example, local resources such as the raw materials that may already be in short supply. Greater extraction and transport of these resources exacerbates the physical impacts associated with their exploitation. There will be also leads to land degradation. Important land resources include minerals, fossil fuels, fertile soils, forests, wetland, and wildlife. Increased construction of tourism and recreational facilities has increased the pressure of these resources and on scenic landscape. Forests, forests are often suffer negative impacts of tourism in the form of deforestation caused by fuel wood collection and land clearing. Attractive landscape sites such as sandy beaches, lakes, and riversides are often transitional zones known as species-rich ecosystems. Typical physical impacts include the degradation such ecosystem. Tourist activities disturb wildlife by altering their eating habitat and feeding patterns, and by altering their habitat. The feeding pattern are altered by directly tourist feeding animal and indirectly littering, which encourage wildlife to crouch for food. Wildlife habitat is altered by tourist trampling and by the use of road vehicles. On the other hand, tourism tourism can cause climate change too. Changes in land use, such as deforestation. In the long run, accumulation of carbon monoxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere can cause global climate change and process um, that may already be occurring. Air travel itself also be one of the reasons.
That, that is a very detailed explanation from you, Ms. Shahada. It is truly devastating to know that our environment is suffering due to these unsafe tourism practices. It also increases the consumption of our raw material, causing the decline of these materials. We are done with the first round of the forum. Shall we move ahead to the second round, folks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sure. Let's start by understanding the gravity of this challenge. How would you describe the economic impact when a country or place heavily depends on tourism, especially in the context of unexpected events? Can Ms. Hannah answer this for us?
Yes, sure. Such interesting question from you. I'm convinced that the tourism industry faces a significant challenge because it depends too much on tourists. It would affect the countries and place very sensitive to unexpected problems. Talking about this challenge, the United Nations World Tourism Organization (UNWTO) said in report in 2020 that the COVID-19 pandemic showed just how much trouble places relying on tourism can get into. Looking closely at the report, we see that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a huge drop, 74% less people travel internationally in 2020 compared to the year before. This drop did not just hurt the economy, it also led to big job losses in places that depend on tourists. So the effect of this economic downturn is spread out and affected many things like small business, hotels, and jobs suffered a lot, showing that how much places can be hurt when they depend too much on tourists. The UNWTO reports tell us that this is a wake-up call or signal for countries and places to think more carefully about how much they rely on tourism and to be ready for unexpected problems.
That is a delightful explanation, Ms. Hannah. The COVID 19 pandemic has caused economic downturns and job losses, highlighting the need for countries and places to be more cautious about their reliance on tourism. Next, we move on to panelist 3, Ms. Shuhada. Maybe she would like to share her previous experience with all of us. Based on your experience, what is the current issue that has been ongoing for the environment?
From my reading, I found an issue about coastal erosion in Maldives. Coastal erosion is a process which the land along the coastline is gradually worn away by the action of natural forces and human action. It can have significant impacts on the shape and size of the coastlines, leading to changes in coastal landforms over the time. The Maldives is made up of around 1,200 small islands. Of the countries of 45,000 people, around half live in the national capital of Mil. Beach erosion is commonly reported as the main environmental threat that the country faces. It is widely understood that the main cause of rapid beach erosion is coastal development, especially the construction of new harbor and resorts. While harbors help to connect island communities or tourists and bring economic opportunity of the residents. This activity can significantly result in negative impact for beauty of beach, which can lead to the loss of sandy beaches, um, that often made that we often major attraction for tourists. The gradual disappearance of beaches can deter visitors who come for recreational activities such as sunbathing, swimming, and beach sports. Erosion may alter the visual appeal of coastal areas, making them less attractive to tourism.
Thank you for the informative response, Ms. Shuhada. The beach erosion does bring benefits, but we still need to be alerted for their negative effects, as well as if it affects the beauty of the beaches, making less tourists visit. Now, I would like to pose the next question to Ms. Hanis. As a vice president of a travel agency, what is your strategy to educate the community into learning about sustainable travel?
Okay, that's a wonderful question from you. Um, Basically, raising awareness is the most effective technique to educate the public. It's also important that we understand the rules and regulation regarding sustainable travels in order to efficiently promote long-term change. The One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program was established by the United Nations World Tourism Organization (UNWTO) to address the issues of pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change while mainstreaming sustainable consumption and productions in the travel industry. Learning about the local initiatives and policies will ensure our compliance and support to the various destinations we're headed to. It is our responsibility as knowledgeable individuals who understand sustainable tourism and are fully aware of how our actions might affect the environment to enlighten others by raising awareness of the same. It is our responsibility as individuals, groups, governments, organizations, companies, giving up the awareness to more policymakers who can enable long-term change. Next, to represent sustainable in their own network and communities as ambassadors. This entails motivating them to campaign for changes, spread the word, share their knowledge, and inspire others. Giving travelers the tools they need to become ambassadors can encourage their peers, families, and even friends, co-workers to become more conscious of sustainability issues and to take action in support of it. For instance, Sabil Patak nature camp visitors are attempting to boost tourism in East Himalayan villages and are beginning to promote sustainable tourism. At that time, many individuals were unaware at the time of the distinctions between the conventional and sustainable tourism.
Thank you, Ms. Hanis, for the wonderful information. By spreading awareness, we can drive long term change and promote sustainable travel in our communities, empowering them to advocate for change. Alright, so we are now moving on the third round. In order to overcome this coastal erosion, what kind of planning should be done? Would Ms. Shuhada give us an explanation?
Yeah, sure. To mitigating coastal erosion involves a combination of soft and hard engineering strategies. Breakwaters and jetties, these structures are designed to absorb wave energy and protect the shoreline that can be constructed to redirect currents and mitigate erosion. We can also conserve of specific coastal landscape or habitat like planting native vegetation on dunes and coastal areas. It helps stabilize the soil and prevent erosion. Dunes act as natural barriers, absorbing wave energy and protecting the land behind them. Thank you.
That is such a splendid strategy, Ms. Shuhada. This strategy could help a lot, especially with the place that has been continuously dealing with this issue. As for our next panelist, Ms. Hanis, how are the locals are able to participate in sustaining the environment?
Okay, about the um, locals know how to maintain and protect their land. They are the permanent residents and they care about the environments. Local also hold knowledge beyond what tourism professionals can provide. They know what is appropriate or not for the environment. Local involved ensure tourism sustainability, and they are trained to protect and sustain their environment for themselves and future touristic activities. Meeting local people and experiencing their culture is the best way to discover the true essence of destinations. Here's are the ways we can get to here's are the ways we can get the community to involve. Firstly, locals as a local guide. By making use of local tour operator and guide benefits of tourism go directly to the community. Local tour guides, transit providers, and craftspeople can all fall under this category. Having an in-depth understanding and respect for the history, cultures of the area, which they have gained by years of life experience. They can guide you about the area, give you insight in the way of life there, and point you in the directions of hidden treasures that you may not have found on your own as a tourist. By learning about the local cultures and tradition, you can gain a greater appreciations for the place you're visiting and contribute to the preservation of local heritage. Next, joining community event and festival. A fantastic method to foster a sense of unity and bring people together. People may develop a sense of community and get to know their neighbors by attending events. Participating in activities can promote social interactions and lessen feeling of loneliness. Can support the development of a new tradition as well as the preservation of older ones. As as well as interacting with visitors along the way. Malaysia especially have a lot of festivals to celebrate and cherish with diverse culture that have involvement of local community in tourism. It is essential. So according to Gilmore and Fisher, it is essential to identify the communities that can actively be engaged in tourism activities. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Hanis, for the interesting information. When we're going to another tourist destination, we should always opt for the local tourist guide. By doing so, we can experience their true culture and tradition that we may not come through without their guide. As for our last panelist, Ms. Hana, the strategy also emphasizes actively involving local communities. So how does community involvement contribute to the economic resilience of a destination?
As far as I'm concerned as an economist, an effective strategy to address the challenge actually involves diversifying tourism products and actively involving local communities. Highlighting the strategy, Gosling, Scott and Hall in 2013 stressed in their insightful publication, Tourism and Water Interaction and Impacts, that sustainable tourism practice play a crucial role in enhancing resilience. Let's consider the Machu Picchu Tourism Management Plan, a case discussed in their research. The plan in a collaboration between the Peruvian government and local communities, successfully diversified tourism offerings beyond the iconic archaeological sites. Sustainable practice and the infusion of local cultural elements not only attracted a more discerning traveller, but also contribute significantly to a preservation of the heritage site. Importantly, the study emphasized that community involvement in tourism planning foster a sense of ownership and ensure a more equitable distribution of economic benefits. Furthermore, the research provide examples from other destinations like Bali and Costa Rica, demonstrating how a community-based tourism initiative have led to sustainable economic growth. Taking everything into consideration, sustainable travel is not just about dollars and destinations. It's a commitment to balance economic growth with environmental and cultural preservation. As we've seen, the economic impact is profound, generating jobs and positive change, as I said before. But on the other hand, challenges like the recent pandemic remind us of the need for resilience. The strategy that stated by the Machu Picchu Tourism Management Plan emphasized that diversification and community involvement as keys to resilience. It's a reminder that sustainable tourism isn't a theoretical concept, but it's actually a practical guide to a future where travel benefits all, including economies, communities, and the unique accent of each destination.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah, for the wonderful explanation. Involving local communities and diversifying offering promotes sustainable practices and equitable economic benefits. As the last panelists have answered, we now have reached the end of this forum. A big appreciation for our panelists for attending this forum. In a nutshell, every member of the tourism industry, from travelers to tour operators, has a part to play in sustainable travel impacts. It's our shared responsibility to ensure this beautiful destination remain beautiful for generations to come. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.